Hello everyone and welcome to the new session of the biology lecture series, and today we'll be solving the NCERT Exemplar questions for the topic reproduction. Alright, so I would like to mention that all the questions are completely NCERT based, okay, and this is the continuation of the previous lecture. So today we'll be solving the short answer type questions. So let's start with the question number 1. So question number 1 is, in haploid organisms that undergo sexual reproduction. Okay, you can have a look at the questions. In haploid organisms that undergo sexual reproduction, name the stage in the life cycle where meiosis occurs. So during sexual reproduction, meiosis occurs, and meiosis is known as what? It is known as the reductional division. Means there is reduction in the chromosome number. It is known as the reductional division. And what happens? The chromosome number is reduced to half. So initially, okay, the organism was diploid, means it has 2n number of chromosome. After meiosis, haploid condition will be maintained. So this is n, which is haploid. Okay, and this usually happens where? This happens, or meiosis happens during the formation of gametes. And this process is known as gametogenesis, formation of gametes. So gametes, gametes are what? Gametes are haploid. Gametes are haploid, and these are produced with the help of meiosis. Okay, now you have to give reasons, you have to justify this. So here I've given you a thinking process. This will help you answer this question. Now, the requirement of meiosis is to reduce the number of the chromosome to half. Okay, so whenever meiosis will take place, it will reduce the chromosome number to half, and thus it helps in maintaining the ploidy level. Okay, I've already told you. First, there are two gametes. Okay, these are the male and the female gametes. Okay, first one is the male, this one is the female gamete. These two gametes will fertilize, it will form the zygote, which will be diploid. Okay, and then again, this zygote, which is diploid. Okay, it will undergo mitosis, it will form embryo, and then later on what happens? It will again produce gametes. Okay, later on. So again it will produce gametes. And how it will produce gametes? With the help of meiosis. So here again one male gamete, you can write, one female gamete, okay, is produced, which are both haploid, and then again they will fuse. Okay, again diploid condition will be maintained. So you can see here the ploidy level is maintained. Initially the organism was diploid. Okay, after meiosis, haploid condition was achieved, and then later on again diploid condition is achieved by fusion of these two gametes. Okay, so meiosis helps to maintain the ploidy level. As the organism is haploid, meiosis cannot occur during the gametogenesis. Alright, now answer. Let's have a look at the answer. So meiosis can take place only in diploid stage. Okay, because meiosis reduces the number of the chromosome to half. So meiosis can only take place in a diploid stage. And diploid stage means post-zygotic stage. Because what happens? Zygote is diploid. Okay, the two gametes, they fuse and they form zygote, which is diploid. And then now meiosis will take place. Okay, it is a post-zygotic stage. Okay, and then again gametes will form N and N. Okay, then again male and female gamete will fuse together. Again it will form a zygote. Alright. Now, meiosis can take place only in diploid cell because the zygote is the only diploid cell in the life cycle of such organisms. Okay, and meiosis in case of haploid organism will occur after the fertilization. After the fertilization means this is the fertilization process. The fusion of the two gametes or union of two gametes is known as fertilization. They will fertilize, okay, they will combine and they will form the zygote, okay, and then again meiosis will take place. Okay, here meiosis will take place. Post-zygotic, okay, you can say post-zygotic or you can say post-fertilization event also. Okay, this is clear. Now let's move on to question number 2. The number of taxa exhibiting asexual reproduction is drastically reduced in the higher plants, such as angiosperms. Angiosperms are the higher plants as well as the higher animals such as vertebrates. So vertebrates are organisms that consist of the vertebral column, is consist of the skeleton and the backbone. Now, they are saying the number of taxa exhibiting the asexual reproduction is drastically reduced in the higher plants and animals as compared to the lower groups of plants and animals. Okay, so here they are saying the lower group of plants and animals, mostly asexual reproduction takes place. Okay, and in higher plants, usually sexual reproduction takes place. So you already know the higher plants. Okay, if we talk about the higher plant, they have complex organization. They are quite complex and they have separate reproductive structures. Whereas the lower organisms, if we talk about the lower groups, they have simple organization. And because of this simple organization, asexual reproduction is favored in lower plants. Okay, now let's have a look at the answer. Now, higher plants such as angiosperms and higher animals such as vertebrates have a more complex structure organization as compared to the lower groups of the plants and animals. Now, they have evolved very efficient mechanism of sexual reproduction. So, higher organisms have evolved a very efficient mechanism of sexual reproduction and they have separate reproductive structures. Okay, there is one male reproductive organ and there is one female reproductive organ. Okay, if we talk about plants, for example, what is the male reproductive structure in plants? It is the stamens, which consist of anther and the filament. And what is the female reproductive structure in plants? It is the carpel, or you can say it is the pistil, which is called as gynoecium. Okay. Similarly, in animals also, you have separate male and female reproductive organ, testes and ovaries. Now, these groups have resorted to reproduction by sexual method for the following reasons. So let's have a look at the reasons. Now, first reason is to ensure the healthy progeny. So during sexual reproduction, what happens? Characteristic of both male and female, both are combined. Okay, two gametes, they fuse together to form the organism. Okay, for zygote we form, then embryo we form, then entire organism is formed. So these organism contains the features of both the male and the female. It is the combination of the genetic material or the genetic characteristic of both male and the female. So the progeny is quite healthy. So sexual reproduction ensures healthy progeny. Second point is to produce genetically varied offsprings. Okay. So during sexual reproduction, what happens? Meiosis takes place. Okay. And what happens during meiosis? Recombination and crossing over. Due to this recombination and crossing over, what happens? Variations occur. So these are the reasons for the variations. Okay. And what happens in sexual reproduction? Two parents are involved. Okay. So the offsprings, they consist of the genes of both the parents. So to produce genetically varied offerings that adapt to changes in the environment and survival in all climatic conditions. Okay, this is the next point. Third point, it ensures the genetic recombination that results in the variation which give rise to evolution. So this I've already explained. During meiosis, recombination takes place, okay, which leads to variation, and because of the variation, there is evolution of new species. Okay, so through sexual reproduction, we can achieve evolution of a new species. And these offerings produced are genetically varied and they can adjust to the environment and the climatic conditions. Now let's talk about next question. Honeybee produce their young ones only by the sexual reproduction. In spite of this, in a colony of bees, we find both haploid and diploid individuals. Okay, so if you talk about honeybees, you must have studied about the haplodiploid system in honeybees of sex determination. So here, the bee and the female workers are diploid and the drones are haploid. They consist of one chromosomal set. Okay. Now name the haploid and the diploid individuals. This is the first question, and analyze the reason behind their formation. So this is the answer. Sterile diploid females, okay, they are the workers. Workers are sterile, okay. Whereas the queen, it is also diploid, but it is fertile. Okay, so those bees to which royal jelly is fed, okay, that develop into queen, which is fertile and it is diploid. So these two develop by normal fertilization. Okay, both the workers and the queen, they develop due to normal fertilization. Whereas the drones, which are the males, these are haploid, but they are fertile. Okay, so these develop with the help of a process known as parthenogenesis. In this, what happens? The unfertilized egg, means there is no fertilization, develops into male drones. There is no fertilization here. So unfertilized egg is haploid. So male drones are also haploid. This is known as parthenogenesis. So what happens in case of honeybees? Both haploid and diploid individual formed as a result of incomplete, this you have to remember this term, incomplete parthenogenesis takes place in honeybees, which means that both sexual reproduction and parthenogenesis are taking place. The fertilized egg, okay, which forms the zygote. So zygote is formed after fertilization, give rise to the queen and the workers, both are females, by the process of sexual reproduction. So they are found by normal sexual reproduction. And the unfertilized egg, which is known as the ova, develop into drones, which are males, by the process of parthenogenesis. So this is how haploid and diploid honeybees are created. Now let's talk about question 4. With which type of reproduction do we associate the reduction division? Means they are talking about meiosis here. Meiosis is also known as reduction division. Now let's analyze the reason for it. So reduction division, also known as meiosis, is associated with sexual reproduction. Now the reasons are, since sexual reproduction involves the fusion of gametes, okay, gametes are formed only during the sexual reproduction. So both male and the female gamete, they fuse together, and this process is known as fertilization. Okay, so male and female gamete, they must be haploid. Okay, and this haploid condition is maintained with the help of the reduction division, which is known as meiosis. So gametes are produced, I've already told you, by the process of meiosis. Okay, now the cell, which is the meiocyte. So meiocyte is a diploid cell. So meiosis takes place in the meiocyte, which gives rise to gametes. Okay, often has meiocyte has, which is diploid, give rise to gametes after the meiosis. Okay, in which the chromosome number is reduced to half. So also this meiosis, which is known as reduction division, it helps to maintain the ploidy level. Okay, or it helps to maintain the chromosome number. How? Because initially these are two gametes. Okay, one is male, one is female. Okay, this is the haploid condition. They will fertilize, they will fuse together, fertilization will take place, and then diploid condition is maintained. Okay, here diploid condition is restored. chromosome number is restored, the ploidy level is restored. Again, with the help of meiosis will take place here in this individual during gamete formation. Again, gametes will be formed, and these gametes will be again haploid. Okay, so the chromosome number is maintained with the help of, or the ploidy level is maintained with the help of meiosis. Now, reduction division also ensures the maintenance of the consistency of chromosome number from generation to generation. Okay, this is clear. Now, next question. Is it possible to consider vegetative propagation observed in certain plants like bryophyllum, water hyacinth, ginger as a type of asexual reproduction? So, you already know vegetative propagation or vegetative reproduction is a type of asexual reproduction. So, you have to give reasons why vegetative propagation is known as asexual reproduction. Now, the formation of new plants from the vegetative units, also known as vegetative propagules such as buds, tuber, rhizome, etc., is called vegetative propagation, also known as vegetative reproduction. It can be considered as a type of asexual reproduction as it involves the production of new individuals. Okay, and you can write with the, and only one parent is involved. New individuals are formed, okay, by only one parent. Alright, asexual reproduction also, what happens? Only one parent is involved. Here also, in vegetative reproduction, one parent is involved. And asexual reproduction, what happens? The offspring forms are exact copies of the parent. Here also it's same. Now, these are the reasons. By a single parent, this I've already told you. Vegetative reproduction takes place with the help of a single parent. Here, there is formation of gametes are not formed, okay, and there is no fusion of gametes. Okay, fusion of gametes or formation of gametes takes place only during the sexual reproduction. Here also there is no formation of gametes. So vegetative reproduction is similar to asexual reproduction. And what happens in vegetative propagation as well as asexual reproduction? It helps, or this results in no genetic or morphological variation, because only one parent is involved, only one genome is involved, so there is no variation. At the genetic level or the morphological level, there is no variation. That's why vegetative reproduction and asexual reproduction are same, or you can say similar. Now let's talk about question number 6. Fertilization is not an obligatory event for fruit production in certain plants. This already we have discussed. So without fertilization also fruit can develop. So these fruit are developed with the help of process known as parthenogenesis, and these fruits are known as parthenocarpic fruits. Okay, and these are developed without the fertilization. No fertilization is taking place. They develop from unfertilized egg. So fertilization is not an obligatory event for fruit production in certain plants. Some fruits are developed from unfertilized ovary called the parthenocarpic fruit. You know, ovary develops into fruit after fertilization, but here unfertilized ovary develops into fruits, and these are known as the parthenocarpic fruits. These are seedless fruits such as pomegranate, grapes, etc. Flowers of these plants are sprayed by a growth hormone. So to induce parthenogenesis, okay, what happens? The plants are sprayed with a growth hormone which is known as auxin. So auxin is a growth hormone that helps in the process, or that stimulates the process of parthenogenesis. Okay, so this growth hormone induces the fruit development even though fertilization has not occurred. The ovules of such fruits, however, fail to develop into seeds. So these parthenocarpic fruits are seedless. Okay, why? Because the ovules of such fruit fail to develop into seeds. Seeds are also formed after fertilization. Here, no fertilization is taking place. Okay, no fertilization is taking place. That's why ovules doesn't develop into seeds, and the fruits are known as parthenocarpic fruits, and they are seedless. Now let's come to the question number 7. In a developing embryo, analyze the consequences if cell divisions are not followed by cell differentiation. Okay, Here they're talking about the developing embryo. So from zygote, embryo is formed, and they are asking if cell divisions are not followed by cell differentiation. So there is a difference between the cell division and cell differentiation. Through cell division, what happens? More number of cells are formed, or you can say the organism multiply. It increase. There is an increase in number of cells. Okay, there is increase in number of cells. Okay, and what happens during cell differentiation? The cells mature. Cell differentiation, what happens? The cells mature. And when the cells mature, they acquire specific function. They acquire specific functions. Alright? So this happens during the cell differentiation. The cells acquire specific function. Now, I've given you this thinking process. Now, the process of development of embryo from the zygote is referred to as embryogenesis. First, you have to understand is what is embryogenesis. The development of the embryo from the zygote is referred to as embryogenesis. During embryogenesis, zygote undergoes cell division, which is known as mitosis, and then cell differentiation. Okay, so you can simply write like this. This is the zygote. Zygote develops into the embryo. This process is known as embryogenesis. And here what is happening? First, mitosis. Mitosis is okay, so mitosis is happening here, which leads to the cell division. And then another process is happening, cell differentiation. Okay, and with the help of cell differentiation, what happens? The cells acquire specific functions. So cell differentiation is also very important. Okay. Now, let's have a look at the answer. Cell division increase the number of cells in the developing embryo. Okay, cell division is taking place through mitosis, while the cell differentiation helps the group of cells to undergo certain modifications to form specialized tissue and organs to form an entire organism. Alright, that's why cell differentiation is very important. Because of cell differentiation, specialized tissues are formed, and tissues will aggregate together to form what? Organs. Okay, and organs will ultimately combine to form organ system, and then finally it will form the entire organism. So this is the importance of cell differentiation. Now, at many stages of embryogenesis, if cell differentiation does not occur, the embryo cannot develop into a new organism, and it will only remain as a mass of cells. Okay, so in organisms, there are a lot of tissues, there are a lot of organs, okay, that perform specific function. So if only cell division takes place, then only a mass of cells will be formed. And this mass of cells, okay, will have no specific functions. It cannot form an entire organism. Alright, this is clear. Now let's move on to the next question. Question number 8. Now here we have to list the changes observed in an angiosperm flower subsequent to pollination and fertilization. Okay. So pollination. What does pollination mean? Transfer of the pollens from the anther, okay, to the stigma. This is known as pollination. And after pollination, what happens? Fertilization takes place. And you have to list the changes observed in the angiospermic flower. So angiosperms are known as flowering plant. You have to list the changes after pollination and fertilization. So, okay, let's talk about this. The changes that are subsequent to pollination and fertilization can be characterized under post-fertilization changes or post-fertilization events. Alright, the first are pre-fertilization event, and we have the post-fertilization event. So let's talk about the pre-fertilization event. What happens during the pre-fertilization gamete formation or gametogenesis? This is the pre-fertilization event. After gametogenesis, what will be the next step in sexual reproduction? Pollination. Transfer of the pollens from the anther to the stigma. And then what will happen? When the pollens are transferred, then fertilization will occur. Means union of two gametes. So pre-fertilization, and then we have the fertilization, and then we have the post-fertilization event. Okay, so post-fertilization events, okay, means after the formation of the zygote. So after fertilization, zygote will form. All right, and then you have to list the changes what happens, okay, under the post-fertilization events. Alright, so let's have a look at the answer. So in the angiospermic flower, the post-fertilization changes occur as follows. So what happens to sepals? They fall off. Petals also, they fall off. Stamens also fall off. Zygote. Okay, zygote is formed after fertilization and zygote will develop into embryo now. Okay, so this is a post-fertilization event. Then what happens to the primary endosperm nucleus? Primary endosperm nucleus will form a triploid endosperm. So primary endosperm nucleus, how it is formed? It is formed by the union of the polar nuclei. I have already explained you polar nuclei or polar cells when we were studying the ovule. Okay, so the two polar nuclei are present in the embryo sac. Okay, and these two fuse together to form the primary endosperm nucleus, which will be diploid. Primary endosperm nucleus is diploid, and this diploid cell will then fuse with one of the male gamete, which is haploid. So it will fuse with one of the male gamete, and then it will form a triploid endosperm, which provides nutrition to the growing embryo. What will happen to the synergids? Synergids will disintegrate. Antipodals will also disintegrate. So I have already told you, let's again draw the structure here. This is the structure. This is the micropylar end. This is the chalazal end. So at micropylar end, egg cell is present here, and then these are two synergids. This is the egg cell. These are the two synergids. Okay. In the center, two polar nuclei form, and this will fuse to form what? Primary endosperm nucleus. So this is diploid. And then at the chalazal end, three antipodal cells are formed. This is a very rough diagram of the embryo sac. These are antipodal. So these will also disintegrate. Now what will happen to, okay, sepals? We have already shown it will fall off. Ovary will develop into fruit. This also, you know, after ovary develops into fruit, after the fertilization, ovule will develop into seeds. What will happen to the ovary wall? It will form the pericarp. And pericarp is made up of three layers or three regions. First is epicarp, middle one is the mesocarp, and the inner one is known as the endocarp. So pericarp is also known as the ovary wall or the fruit wall. Okay, what happens to the integuments? Integuments form the seed coat. Alright, and seed coat have two layers again. One is testa, another is tegmen. What happens to the funicle of the ovule? It forms the stalk of the seed, and micropyle forms the seed pore. Okay, if we draw the ovule, again I am drawing the very rough diagram of the ovule. So these are the integuments. Two integuments are present. So these integuments will, these are the integuments. These integuments will develop into the seed coat. This is the micropylar end. This will develop into what? Seed pore. Okay, this is the chalazal end. Here is the embryo sac, two polar nuclei, one egg cell, two synergids, antipodal cell, three are present here. Okay. Here is the funiculus. So this is the funiculus. This forms the stalk of the seed. So this is the funiculus. Okay, so this is clear. Now let's start with the next question, which is question number 9. So here, the question is, suggest a possible explanation why the seeds in the pea pod are arranged in a row. You must have seen in pea, which is a pod. Okay, so in pea, the fruit is known as legume and it is a pod. The seeds are arranged in a row, you must have seen. Whereas in tomato, if you talk about tomato, the seeds are scattered in the juicy pulp. Okay, so you have to suggest a possible explanation for that. What is the reason for this? Why the arrangement of seeds is like this? Okay, so to understand this or to answer this question, first you have to understand the placentation. All right, so let's talk about the answer. In pea, the fruit is known as the legume. The pea pod is developed from the monocarpellary, means single carpel. Okay, monocarpellary means single, mono means single, carpellary means carpel. It is unilocular. Okay, there is only one locule and it has half superior ovary. Okay, at maturity, the fruit splits along the dorsal and the ventral sutures and discharge its seeds. All right, so this happens in pea, in which the fruit is known as legume. Now, in gynoecium, what is gynoecium? Gynoecium is a female reproductive structure. So in gynoecium with the single carpel, means monocarpellary condition, ovules are always attached to the ventral suture. Okay, and this results in the fruit with marginal placentation. Okay, so in pea plant or in the pea or in the fruit of the pea plant, the placentation is marginal. Okay, thus the seeds are arranged in a row in a legume. Now, what is placentation? If we talk about placentation, placentation is the arrangement of ovules. Placentation is the arrangement of ovules within the ovary. This is known as placentation. Okay, and these ovules are attached to the ovary with the help of placenta, which is a parenchymatous structure. Okay, now in P, we have marginal placentation. So in marginal placentation, what happens? The ovules are arranged on a ridge, okay, that runs parallel to the ventral suture. Okay, here you can see the marginal placentation in the pea plant. So these are the seeds, okay, or you can say ovules. Ovules develop into seeds after fertilization. This is also an ovule, they are saying, which is seed only. Then you have the placenta here. Okay, this is the placenta. Through placenta, the ovules are attached to the ovary, and here is the pericarp. Pericarp, we have already discussed, is known as the fruit wall. Okay, so this happens in marginal placentation. The ovules are arranged on a ridge, okay, that runs parallel to the ventral suture. Okay, now let's talk about the tomato plant. In tomato plant, exile placentation is seen. Okay, means the placenta is exile. Okay, placenta is exile or axial, and the ovules are attached to this axial placenta. That's why we have axial placentation in tomato. Now, here you can see these are the seeds, placenta you can see, and the locule. So here you can see in marginal placentation, what were the conditions? Monocarpellary means single carpel. Okay, and it should be unilocular. and half inferior ovary. In exile placentation, you can see here more than one carpel is present and it is multilocular. So in tomato, if you talk about tomato, the fruit is known as berry. Now it is fleshy fruit developed from superior or inferior ovary. Okay, so ovary can be superior or ovary can be inferior, and depending on that, what happens? Flower can be hypogynous or flower can be epigynous or perigynous. Okay, depending on the position of the ovary. You must be already knowing about this. In this, the margins of the carpel grow inwards to the center of the ovary, dividing the central chamber into compartments called locules. So in exile placentation, many locules are present. Okay, it is not unilocular. It can be bilocular. So that, again, this is the continuation of the previous, so that the ovules are arranged radially. Okay, here the ovules are arranged radially on the axis attached to the placenta. And this is known as axial placentation. That's the reason why the seeds are embedded in the juicy pulp in tomato. Alright. So you should know the placentation. If you know the placentation, then you can tell the arrangement of the ovules. Okay, because ovules are attached through placenta to the ovary. Okay. Now let's talk about next question. Now, question is, draw the sketches of a zoospore and a conidium. So what is zoospore? What is conidium? They are asexual spores. These are asexual spores and mention two dissimilarities, okay, between them and at least one feature common to both structures. Okay, so you have to mention dissimilarities and one common features between zoospores and the conidium. The feature common to zoospores and conidia is that both of these are the asexual reproductive structures. You already know which facilitate the process of reproduction in asexually reproducing organisms. Okay, here you can see this is the image of a zoospore. Okay, this is a zoospore present in the algae Chlamydomonas, and here you can see the conidia present in the fungus penicillium. So penicillium is a fungus. It belongs to kingdom fungi, whereas Chlamydomonas is algae. You can see the structure of zoospores. It contains a nucleus and contains flagella, means zoospores are motile. Okay, they are motile asexual spores. Okay, and you can see here conidia. Conidia are born on conidiophore. So this is the stalk. So this stalk is known as the conidiophore. All right, and here these are the conidia, and in between conidia and conidiophore, metulae is present. Okay, so this is the structure of the conidia. Conidia is also asexual spore. So both of these help in asexual reproduction. Now here I have listed the dissimilarities between zoospore and the conidium. Zoospore is found usually in algae, conidium found usually in fungi. Example we have already given, Chlamydomonas, and for fungi penicillium. Zoospore we have seen they are flagellated and conidium are non-flagellated. Now zoospores are formed inside the sporangium. Okay, and they are formed endogenously, means within the sporangium. So sporangium is a structure within which asexual spores are formed. Okay, but whereas conidia, they are formed at the tips of the conidiophore and they are born exogenously. Okay, so this is also a difference. Zoospores are formed endogenously, means within a structure known as the sporangium, whereas conidia are born on conidiophore exogenously. Alright, so these were the the similarities. Okay. Now, what is the similarity between them? Zoospores and the conidia, they both are asexual structures. This is the similarity. Asexual spores, and they help in sexual reproduction. Now let's talk about the question number 11. Here we have to justify the statement vegetative reproduction is also a type of asexual reproduction. Now in flowering plants, the unit of vegetative reproduction such as runners, stolons, suckers, offset, rhizome, corn, tuber, etc. We have talked about these. Okay, these are all vegetative, okay, propagules you can say, and they are capable of giving rise to new offerings. So these structures are known as vegetative propagules. You already know about stolon. Stolon is a prostrate, okay, stem. Okay, means it grows very close to the ground. Offset is also a part of a branch or a stem. Okay, you know about the potato tuber. It is modified stem which grows underground and it stores water. Okay, rhizome also is also a modified stem. Corm also. Okay, so all of these are vegetative propagules and they help in vegetative reproduction. So here you can see these structures, all of these vegetative propagules, these give rise to new offerings, means there is only one parent involved. Okay, and in asexual reproduction also one parent is involved. Okay, so we can say vegetative reproduction is a kind of asexual reproduction. Okay, now in all of these plants, the formation of these structures does not involve two parents. Okay, only single parent is involved. Two parents is involved in sexual reproduction. The process involved is asexual because two parents are not involved. So it can be said that vegetative reproduction is also a type of asexual reproduction. Okay, so first point you have to remember, only one parental means uniparental. And second, you can say through vegetative propagation, genetically identical offerings are formed. Okay, this is also a feature of what? Asexual reproduction. Now, example, again, you can say bulb of onion and stolon of strawberry. Okay, so here you can see here, this is the bulb present in the onion. And what is bulb? Bulb is a underground modified stem only. Here you can see adventitious roots. Adventitious roots are roots which develop from a region other than the radicle. Okay, here you can see base of the scape. Now bulb, okay, it is a modified underground stem that consists of, how you can define bulb? It is a modified underground stem that consists of what? That consists of scale leaves. Yeah, or you can say that are surrounded by scale leaves. Okay, stolon. Stolon is also a, okay, so in strawberry, vegetative reproduction takes place with the help of stolon. Stolon is nothing but it is a prostrate stem. Okay, means it grows very near to the ground and it consists of what? It consists of nodes. That's why it is a stem. Here you can see stolon in strawberry. So these were some examples, some other examples of vegetative propagules. Okay, so this is the end of these questions. We will start with rest of the question. We will start with the long answer question in the next session. Thank you very much.